Just having been in this business since I was a little kid, you see so many ups and downs, and it makes you really bitter and jaded by the time you're a teenager. And you have to shake out of that attitude. Otherwise, you won't survive this business. I really made a conscious effort to say, I'm not going to be bitter and jaded anymore. This is not attractive or appealing. I have to make the best of every situation.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
I talked to Hannah Marks a couple days after the total lockdown of New York City during this pandemic. She was in Los Angeles. And during this episode, she shares an apprehension about promoting a movie during this time when people are dying. And I can totally understand that. And you may not want to hear people talking about a movie or about acting right now. And I totally understand that. But there are some people that might welcome that distraction and might really need it right now. And also, Hannah Marks co-wrote and stars in a movie called Banana Split, which is on VOD right now. You can see it in your home. And I think you should. I really love this movie. I think it's a great comedy. And I'm thrilled that it's available right now during this time. Here's my talk with Hannah Marks. I was in New York. She was in Los Angeles. This is my first remote interview. We sat down together to talk about the work. Hannah Marks, how are you doing during this whole time?
I'm good. I feel bad for everyone who's sick. I spend a lot of time at home, and I was homeschooled my whole life pretty much. So this quarantining lifestyle is not too different for me. So I'm just spending a lot of time with my dogs and my boyfriend. We were in a long distance relationship, and now that this is happening, we're going from long distance to literal quarantining, which is kind of crazy for our relationship, but very special. And I'm doing okay. I just really feel terrible for the economy and all the people that are ill. And then I also feel incredibly tone deaf for promoting a movie right now, but it also matters to me. So it's a little embarrassing, honestly.
And I know that might be a feeling. And then when I ask about certain things like projects being put on hold and promotion of movies being sort of staggered out the gate, it pales in comparison to people dying, of course. So we need to just put that out there up front. Like, we're going to be talking about things like, I'm disappointed. If I told you what I was disappointed about, you would think I was the most cold-hearted person. So I mean, everybody has their little disappointments during this whole time, and we're all dealing with it differently. And
there's always things that are worse,
Exactly. But see, here's the thing that I'm worried about, because you're a great writer. So I hope that you're writing. I hope you're doing productive things like that. Tell me you are.
I'm legally obligated to, so I am. I'm on a writing assignment right now, which is actually probably pretty good timing because I can't leave the house, so it's a good time to write. But yeah, yes. I'm adapting a children's book series right now, which is kind of crazy to be in that optimistic children's book headspace in a time like this.
Yeah. Okay, so Banana Split. I love this movie so much, and I just have to say a couple things right off the bat here. I'm going to be very angry. I'm so quick to anger. Okay, I'm going to do what I can to make people watch this movie, because this movie needs to be seen by people that hate dumb comedies, because this is a smart comedy. People who hate what has happened to the romantic comedy and the tropes that have drowned it. This is an elixir, an antidote to all that. People are all in their homes. They're looking for something. Maybe this is the perfect time for this to slide out. But here's what I want to ask you. You started writing this or thinking about writing this in your teens, and then you wrote it. It took a long time to write it with your writing partner. It was on many different desks all over Hollywood, all the struggle to get it made. And then finally it's getting made, and then all these years of hard work. But then you're on the set and you actually have to act. It's the first moment of filming, and you now are the actor. If you don't perform, just take me back to that realizing like you had all this acting experience. You're young, you had all this acting experience, but still, you were living with this thing for so long before that. And now it's day one, and it's like action.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to address the compliment that you gave me, which was so kind. And I so appreciate that you really got what we were going after with the movie. And it's so exciting to me when a man who is not a teenager reacts to this movie in the way that you did, because you're not exactly the demographic. So the fact that you took all of that away from the movie is really thrilling to me. And I mean, that really just makes my day, my week, my month, my year. So thank you so much for saying that.
That's awesome. And
then just in terms of like getting to the acting part of it, the toughest thing is just your own head and the self-sabotage and the idea of this has been so hyped up. There's been so much anticipation. We've been trying to get it made for years, and now you're finally on set. It's really just that anticipation that that can get in your way, you know, what you've created in your head of what this experience should be. But at the end of the day, you have to just go back to the work, and nobody knew the script better than me. So that's a real advantage. It was literally impossible for me to forget my lines because I remember how every line came to be. The trickiest part really was just not accidentally saying different iterations of the lines. But
from like 2 years ago?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was tricky. And then really, I just wanted to be the best acting partner I could be to all the people that came and were a part of the cast. I wanted to support them because I was just so grateful to them that they were there, because it was my baby. So I just wanted to support all of them and make them feel happy that they were a part of it. That was a huge goal of mine. And then the other challenge was just learning to let go and trying to give up some of the control and holding on so tight to the control. And I think sometimes I succeeded at that and other times I didn't. But I really at least tried to really let Ben have the reins of the movie as the director. And it's funny because I heard you talking about this with Zoe on the podcast that I was listening to right before jumping on, how you were offered, I think it was a pilot or a movie, and it was an actress, writer, producer who was going to be in it, and how it was hard for you to take the control that you needed. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that story you told, it really rang true to me because that was difficult for me to let go of control. And so I understand where that fear of yours would come from.
When you are there and in the scene and he has to take the reins and you're happy because, you know, he's qualified and he actually did a great job. So,
I agree.
So we can look back on it and be like, all right, it all worked out. But I'm talking about in the moment for you, because it's not just about your performance and what you need from him. It's about how he's directing the other people and how you have that in your mind about how that was supposed to be or something like that. And how is that not distracting for you in the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. It helped that Ben Kasulke is a longtime friend of mine, and also the entire cast, for the most part, were longtime friends of mine. So everyone we picked, we already loved and wanted to collaborate with. So it wasn't this fear of what are they going to do with the role, because everyone was really already close. So it was actually pretty easy in that sense. And Ben is so thoughtful. He would always, go up to me before we finished the scene and say, do you think we need to get anything else? Do you think we're missing anything? And he really showed me that respect. And sometimes I would say no. And sometimes I would say, yeah, I think we should probably get, a take that's less broad or more broad or, has a different energy. But you kind of want to pick your battles because you only have so much time.
Right. And tell me if this is true. You had already directed after everything?
Yeah.
But this script was kind of in development as the other script was in development, right? I mean,
yeah, so this was our first script. Banana Split had a different name. It was first called My Boyfriend and His Girlfriend. Then it was called April Sandwich. Then it was called Eskimo Sisters for a long time. So this is just examples of how many years of development it was in. Right, but it was the first screenplay. I started it at 18, and then Joey came on board and helped me with it. And then in the frustration of it not getting made, we decided to write something else, which was a movie called Shotgun, which that title also got changed to After Everything. Right. And then the two movies ended up getting made back to back. So we made After Everything, and then we had momentum from that, and that allowed us to go make Banana Split right after.
So that's really interesting, because that's another great movie that, like, I don't know why that didn't come up in my radar 2 years ago.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
pissed about that. No, I'm pissed. Can I be pissed?
There's so much content. It's impossible.
No. You know how many bad movies I saw in 2018? Okay, do you know how many? Would you like me to make a list?
Actually,
for
sure.
You in time. But seriously, like, so you're working so hard making these things, and things are coming true. Like, thank God, like, these movies have been able to be made somehow. You had a shoestring budget for After Everything. You're shooting it on the streets of New York, stealing some things and all this.
Oh, yeah.
Was everything already shot and everything, and it had come out before you did Banana Split? Or where were you in the process of After Everything when you were actually shooting Banana Split?
Well, we filmed them both the same year. We filmed After Everything, then it was Shotgun in the spring, and then we filmed Banana Split in the fall. So I think we must have been in the editing process. Yeah, we were in the editing process when we filmed Banana Split, because I remember in between scenes of Banana Split, when I was acting, I would have to go off and direct the ADR for After Everything. So it was a bit of a balancing act and kind of challenging to stay in the right headspace. The next spring is when it premiered at South by, and Banana Split was being edited.
I see. So one of the things you've said is that you became a much easier actor to work with after directing. And I've heard other actors say a similar thing. But can you just talk to me about that a little bit?
Well, I realized how much easier it is to direct when your actors trust you and when they give you 100% commitment and they want to try your ideas. And I realized in the past, I get so defensive of my work or of my character that I would, sometimes if I didn't like a note, I would argue it. Or I would ask more questions to try to understand it instead of just doing it and going for it, which I should have been doing all along. But I'm, a neurotic, a neurotic person, was always overthinking everything, and now I wouldn't want any of my actors to do that to me. So I can't do it to another director. And I don't think I was ever disrespectful, but I do have a new awareness of how I should behave.
One of the other things that I really love about this, to me, this movie is already successful, and I mean that in a real way. So one of the reasons why I love that it succeeded is because you really wanted your friend Liana Liberato to be in this movie. You kind of wrote it for her. Is that correct?
I didn't necessarily write it for her, but I always hoped we would get to do it together.
And here you are, growing up together as little girls in the acting world, child actors.
Yep.
And for you to make these two performances in this movie and make it so alive and fresh, and it just is a success to me. But tell me, like, was there any moments during this whole possibility of making this movie where either you weren't going to be in it, or she wasn't going to be in it, or you both weren't going to be in it?
Oh yeah. There were a lot of people that wanted to make the movie but didn't want to make it with me in it. They wanted someone famous. And this is back, when I was going back to even when I was a teenager, and I felt like, I've worked so much, and I'm still so young. Why can't I play this role? And it's also a small movie. It's not a studio movie. I just didn't understand why I wasn't allowed. And I provided so much material on myself, and I really believed I could do it. I was playing myself practically. So that was really frustrating to me. And it was really hard. It really makes you insecure having so many people love the material, but not necessarily love you. And it's really hard to stay strong and say, no, this is the way I'm going to do it. This is the promise I made to myself and the whole reason I did this. Like, especially because whoever would play the role would be my direct competitor, would be someone that I've been auditioning with, would be someone that's similar to me. I'd be advancing another actress's career in something I did for myself. And maybe that sounds selfish, but to me, I needed to believe in myself like that. And thank goodness my family and my close friends all kept me strong. So anytime I was thinking about just getting it made without me in it, they all said, "What are you doing? This is yours." So, but I mean, there was a lot of tears for sure, which I mean, pales in comparison to everything going on right now with coronavirus, which is why I even feel bad talking about it. But it was really hard. I mean, we had different directors, different producers, all sorts of things happen. And yeah, Liana's role was going to be played by a couple different people at different time periods, but then the movie didn't get made like that. So,
well, she's perfect in it. She's perfect for it. You're just giving me more things to be angry at. And now I'm angry at
can
all
I give you
those
another
people.
thing to be angry at?
Okay, yeah, give it to me.
So there was one company that was going to make the movie, and they contractually, I was playing the role. They said they were cool with it. They said they were going to make it. They said we just had to cast this one person opposite me, and they would greenlight it. And we did, and we were so excited. And then they didn't greenlight it, right? And we kept trying to push them for months and months. You know, it's $1 million movie. It's not a big movie. And nothing was happening. And so then I went back to auditioning because I have to make a living. And I booked Dirk Gently, which was a BBC show. That was going to take me out for 3.5 months. And that's when they decided to greenlight the movie. And they said, you're now unavailable, so we're going to fire you and cast someone else.
What?
Yeah. And I was thinking, I got this great TV show with Elijah Wood. Maybe they'll think I'm now qualified enough to star in my own movie. But it was actually the opposite. They waited for me to get something to become unavailable so they could fire me off my own project. And then they also wouldn't allow me to be a producer on it. Whereas my writing partner was allowed to be a producer on it. This was pre-Me Too, pre-Time's Up. So that was the hardest time. That was really, really painful.
So how did you save that from that? How did you save
it was just illegal. I mean, in my contract, it was like, you can't do this to me. So basically I just, lawyered up and said no. But it was really hard because everyone was pressuring me to just let it go. Well, they're like, what do you care? You have a TV show.
That's hard on so many levels too, because it's also a sucker punch to your ego too.
Oh, yeah.
This makes me so happy for what it is now, so those people can see it. And I'll watch it again and imagine those people watching it.
Yeah. I don't have the hatred I have toward them that I used to. I used to be really bitter and frustrated, but now I don't. I'm like, they're just business people. This is a business. They're doing their jobs. But at the time, I didn't have that outlook. I was really pained by it.
That's good for you. And that's a good, very valuable way to be. And I would love to aspire to that one day. So... A lot of these people are your friends in Banana Split, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so Ben was obviously on board with the casting of these people. He's the director.
Ben really just trusted me and kind of let me do my thing, which was so cool. He was just excited to be directing. It was his first feature as a director, and he comes from the cinematography background. So
right.
The camera and the emotion related to the camera was more his world than the casting side. However, we did audition a few people, like Luke Spencer Roberts, who plays Ben, the redhead. He's fantastic. He was someone that...
Incredible.
We auditioned him, but I had also done a chemistry read with him for a movie that he got and I did not get. But I remembered how good he was. And so we cast him off of an audition. And Addison, we auditioned. She was the only person we auditioned. I had requested her tape from my manager because she's one of my manager's clients, and I saw her picture and I thought, wow, she looks so much like me. And so we had her tape, and then she was so good and she could improv, which is so rare, she's 13 or 14 years old.
I have never belonged to a fan club. Can I start the Addison Ricky fan club? Or if there's
I've already started it. But you can join.
In it?
You can join.
With these people I admire, and you're one of them now, I want, especially with comedy, I want to know, do you have a philosophy to comedy that you can express? Is it more about what you like and what you grew up on and what you want things to be like, or more about what you don't like and don't want your things to be like in terms of comedy?
Right. Wow. I mean, it's a little of both. I think the movies that I found the funniest are the ones with the most simple premise. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but if you think of Knocked Up, I mean, I'm a huge Judd Apatow fan, me and everyone else, but, Knocked Up, really the whole premise is like, what if Seth Rogen got you pregnant? That's pretty much that whole plot. And yet it's like a 2+ hour movie. And I love that movie so much. It makes me laugh because it takes this like very simple, human, real thing that could happen to anyone. And it expands on that idea and shows all the nuances and the different things you can feel going through the process. And so to me, that's the funniest. That's what's the funniest, something that's just emotional and real, not necessarily, I love Anchorman, but not necessarily something like that where everyone's outlandish and you're fighting a tiger or whatever that is. I forgot what the ending of that movie is, but then again, I'm a hypocrite because I love movies like Zoolander, which are completely niche and complicated and about the world of male modeling, So sometimes you can't necessarily put your finger on it. I think a lot of the funniest performances are just the people that were the most committed.
You had just wrapped another movie a couple weeks ago, right? Mark and Mary and some other people?
Yes.
So you have that in the can, thank God, because I know there's some films that were literally like almost done shooting and then they closed up shop. Like imagine that kind of, again, people are dying, I know. So these are lesser disappointments, everyone. But I want you to be able to, because there's other people that are afraid to express their disappointments right now in this time. If this really goes on for many months, it's going to be bad for a lot of different things that we love. And but things are finally coming together for you as a multi-dimensional artist. You know what I mean? Like your things are coming together. You got a lot of jobs coming up. You're booking. You just said you're booking. You got a writing job. You're directing a couple things, and then this thing strikes the earth. Like across the whole earth. Like how do you stop from like looking around your apartment right now and just pulling everything down on top of you and crawling up into a ball? Because like you've worked hard your whole life. Things are finally coming together now.
I gotta say, I had experience with this in a different way last year that has really changed my whole perspective on everything, because I got my biggest job in my life directing a studio movie solo. I was going to direct Turtles All the Way Down, which was a John Green book for Fox. And, I was going from having co-directed $1 million movie to solo directing a $20 million movie. So it was my dream come true, and I loved the material. I loved all of my producers. I mean, it was the biggest job I had gotten in my life. It felt so monumental. And we were in prep for months, and we were casting, and we were about to shoot. And then the Fox Disney merger happened, and we got shut down. And so that was really, really, really painful. And I'm still optimistic that movie will happen. And I still talk to my producers on it all the time. And, they're the ones that hired me for this adaptation I'm doing. So everything's still positive in that sense. But that was heartbreaking, especially because all these articles had come out, saying I was the youngest female to direct a studio movie and all these things, hyping it. And then it just didn't happen. And it made me feel like a fraud, even though it wasn't my fault. And it was nothing I could control, but it really made me feel like a fraud. Like people were, I guess, admiring me for something I hadn't done yet. Now the business shutting down, to me, it's like I already went through that. I already went through my dream project getting canceled or postponed. And so now it's kind of like I expect it, Also, just having been in this business since I was a little kid, you see so many ups and downs, and it makes you really bitter and jaded by the time you're a teenager. And you have to shake out of that attitude. Otherwise, you won't survive this business. I really made a conscious effort to say, I'm not going to be bitter and jaded anymore. This is not attractive or appealing. I have to make the best of every situation.
And that's huge. And it's also making me very excited about your future because you have developed a hard skin at such an early age, and you know how fighting for what you want actually works in the long run. You know what I mean? So all of that that's lessons you've already learned already. So that means that we're going to get you now as an artist that no one can break. And that's what I want as an audience member. I want pure artists being able to do what they want to do. And when they're as talented as you, that's a huge, huge win for us. Hannah Marks, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your